Every year, these state universities in Cameroon churn out hundreds of graduates. There are naysayers who think these graduates only come to swell the ever-growing army of the unemployed. Even as times are hard, this is not a true picture of the situation. This confident-looking young lady tells a completely different story.
When we were recruited by the head of state in 2011, many of us were sent to the Ministry of the Public Service and Administrative Reform. Before we started work, we had seminars. They were well built up. They taught us a lot as far as administration is concerned. So when we started work, there was no major difficulty. There was no challenge. We were just treating the files and we were just working happily. Everything was just fine.
A graduate from one of the country's state universities, she is one of the 25,000 employed into the public service thanks to a special recruitment drive decided by President Paul Biya in 2011. Since then, she hasn't had any difficulty finding her feet in Cameroon's public service.
It was very easy for me to adapt when I came into the public service in January 2012. Because the people I met, they were like a family. Everybody was willing to teach me as a beginner who just joined the government. So the only difficulty I faced at that time was language barrier, though it wasn't much an issue because my immediate bosses, my immediate superiors were always there to help me whenever I needed help.
The fate of Neris and that of others of her kind was turned around because of government's constant policy of paying attention to the needs of the young people and giving Cameroonian youth a chance to serve.
The youth occupies the first place. The youth is the main target of the policy of the President of the Republic, His Excellency Paul Biya. The youth employment is very important in that policy. Despite many constraints, you can notice that when recruitment takes place in our country, the youth is very much concerned. That's why all the text guiding the recruitments in the public service in our country have put as age limit not more than 32 years old, which means that you have to be a young man. So even with special recruitments like contractualizations, it's not more than 40 years old. It means that the youth is privileged.
The question of introducing the youth into the management spheres of the country has over the years preoccupied political authorities in Cameroon at the highest level. President Paul Biya is conscious that it may no longer be enough to procrastinate the destiny of the youth as the leaders of tomorrow, and he has made this known. I've also understood your desire for greater participation in taking decisions that concern the destiny of our country. I will take this into account, bearing in mind that tomorrow's Cameroon will be built with your input. That is why there is a growing and overwhelming consciousness that space should be made for the youth as part of the national agenda for harmonious development. It is not for the public service to provide employment to every Cameroonian, but because of the growing unemployment which is not peculiar to Cameroon, and while waiting for the private sector to become buoyant, the government has decided to fast-track employment opportunities for the benefit of the youth, especially into the public service.
The head of state is preoccupied. He knows we have young men in this country who are well trained. They need to be employed. But as I said, we also need to take into consideration some constraints. But the head of state at any time can decide that we make a special recruitment. That's why you talked about those 25,000 young men, 1,000 bilingual young men. I can also take the example of young magistrates and court registers. The process has started 2 years ago. This year, we will also recruit 50 young magistrates and 30 court registers. They will be trained at ENAM so that the courts of appeal of the Southwest and Northwest region must have the competence to rule those administrations. The process will end next year, which means in 2020.
The head of state has kept his promise. Increasingly, it is no longer unusual to find youths as strategic sectors of national administration.
We have, let us say, 2 examples, at ENAM especially. The new general manager of ENAM and the new deputy general manager. The first one is 32 years old, and this year he will be 33 years old. The deputy general manager will have, let us say, 40 or 41 years old. You see, they are young men, which means that the head of state puts all his confidence on the youth. That's why we always tell them, our young brothers and sisters, that they should remain calm. They should just be patient. The President of the Republic is working so that the transition between, let us say, the old generation or this generation and the new generation that is coming should go on smoothly. So they should just be well trained in our universities, and we have many of them. We also have school who can train them. I said ENAM, you also have IRIC, you also have ASMAC, and many others. They should go and be trained very well. Then we are trying to work so that everybody should find something in our administration.
In Cameroon's diplomatic services, more and more youths are finding a place under the sun. The head of state, by definition, is the head of Cameroon's diplomacy. Therefore, reforms in this sensitive sector come with its blessings. Out of a total staff strength of 1,400, 80% are youths. After a lull of about 15 years, in November 2017, about 230 diplomats were appointed in and outside the country. 85% of these were less than 45 years. In the same vein, a few weeks ago, 215 attachés and contract officers were appointed in the Ministry of External Relations, with about 65% of them aged below 35. The new blood will definitely retool Cameroon's diplomacy and enable it to deal with these android times when all the hitherto accepted principles that governed the world order are being called to question. In territorial administration, women have made a significant encroachment into a milieu that was hitherto thought to be a no-go area, or better still, a preserve for men. Among these, a large majority are among the youthful category, demonstrating every day that youthful exuberance and dynamism can combine seamlessly with serious state issues. The 22nd of April 2013 was a memorable day for the inhabitants of Garoua 3 that was receiving the first female divisional officer in their history.
When I was in high school, I was fascinated by this job, which is commandement territorial. I was fascinated because I saw administrative authorities coming to the village addressing to people and how they were respected, and they were the legal representative of the state, and they were only men. We consider this job like a main job. So I said to my dad that I want to do this job, and I want to thank him because he encouraged me to do my best to come through this dream.
The event was remarkable in a region where tradition is well entrenched and women not always at the forefront. But what was more intriguing was her age. This princess of Meganga was just 30 years old when President Paul Biya asked her to represent him in Garwa III. Today, at 36, her age has never been a handicap. On the contrary, Madame Maimouna Mole Musa, nicknamed the Android Dio, doesn't hesitate to resort to social media networks to expedite administrative work.
I want to thank the President of the Republic, His Excellency Paul Biya, because I was appointed here like a divisional officer of Garwa III subdivision at 30. So at this time, I was so young, and I want to be grateful. I'm a young woman who have another responsibility, like a mother, like a wife, and I try every day to have a good organization for doing well my job here in the office. At any time, you can be called for doing this or doing that, so you have to be present at all this time, and I find a way to be present in my house and to be beside the populations that I have to take care of. The vision of the President Paul Biya starts long years ago. The president gives the opportunities to the youth, to the female gender, to show what they can do to serve their nation. So it is a good opportunity for us to prove that we are here to serve our nation, to serve the populations. Everywhere we are, we have to do our best to develop our country.
But one sector of national life that has seen the youth flock in like a colony of bees is the Defense and Security Forces. The head of state, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, has always personally ensured to this. On the 17th of January 2019, he was at the Headquarters Brigade in Yaoundé to oversee the award of epaulets to young cadet officers passing out in the 36th batch of Cameroon's elite military academy with the baptismal name Unity and Diversity. Beyond this ritual, the ceremony encapsulates the confidence that the head of state reposes on the youth that constitutes a vital component of Cameroon's defense forces. They are those who are at the front in the battles of many faces, challenging the resolve of Cameroonian soldiers. In reality, over the last decade, the head of state has ordered the drafting of about 10,000 young men and women, including officers, non-commissioned officers and soldiers, into the army. Right now, there is an ongoing recruitment of 2,600 commandos into the elite corps, the Rapid Intervention Battalion, popularly known as B, and the Presidential Guard that takes care of the security of the presidential family and edifices. Those recruited come from all the 10 regions of Cameroon, creating an indissoluble bond and family, making the army to look like the best testimony of the cultural mosaic that Cameroon is.
Je vous exhorte également
I also urge you to remain true to the values that are the bedrock of our nation and that guide the action of our army. Together with your comrades, you will henceforth be the shield of your country. But never forget that you are also expected to be the shield of our people. Strive to earn their respect and love through your courage, rectitude, self-denial, solicitude, and professionalism. The three ministries of education consume a combined total of 15% of the state's annual budget in infrastructural development, equipment, and the provision of didactic materials. The number of schools has quadrupled and university institutions have skyrocketed over the years. Today, there is a flurry of medical schools and teacher training colleges literally mushrooming in various parts of the country. There is no region without a tertiary education institution, at least an annex, constituting the basis for future development. The massive donation of 500,000 laptops, a special gift of the head of state to students in all university institutions, whether state-owned or private, has enabled university youths to be virtually connected to the global academic space and to serve as a premise in addition to other more appropriate measures taken by state authorities to bolster the professional edge of teaching in Cameroonian universities. That is not all. At the end of 2018, the head of state ordered a special recruitment of 2,000 young PhD holders as lecturers into state universities over a consistent period of 3 years to be distributed as follows: 1,000 PhD holders in 2019, 500 in 2020, and 500 others in 2021.
It's a very welcome measure, and I won't tell you how justified and useful that decision is to the teaching corps of which I belong. I started or took responsibility of the department, and my first difficulty was how to manage this kind of a population which we have in SOA with the teaching staff I have. And the next thing is, a week after he swears he's sworn in, we have a decision which helps us solve that kind of a problem. We need staff which I would say must be in place if we have to train children who would serve this country in the digital age. The problem with taking that decision and applying it immediately will be whether that quality of staff is available in the market. Because it's not we would not like to employ just people with PhDs because they have PhDs. But we need PhDs which can train others for the market, PhDs that are marketable. And these are domains that serve the digital age in which we live.
This came as a great relief because the University of Buea, like other state universities, have been in dire straits. This is particularly true of the University of Buea, which, as you can very well imagine, when the University of Bamenda was created, many lecturers from the University of Buea left to go to University of Bamenda. And so that has created enormous problems in the University of Buea in terms of student-staff ratio. So this decision by the head of state to recruit 2,000 new lecturers between 2019 and 2021 comes as a much-awaited action. And I think the University of Buea can only be proud and happy and thankful to the head of state for this decision. As you know, of course, there is a direct link between student-staff ratio and quality education. The more faculty members there are, the better the students are trained. They have quality and personalized training. And that also impacts on the overall performance of the university, even in terms of university rankings.
This measure has been appreciated as it should by the entire university community.
I was so excited. We thank the president by doing so because we lack teachers. We lack teachers to follow up because the university is receiving many students every year, and the teachers that are there are not able to do all the work that are supposed to do. So we hope that for me as a Master's 1 student, hope more is going to come ahead.
We students, we are doing research already. It encourages us to further our studies so that tomorrow we can become doctors and we also teach. And it brings hopes more and more, telling us that the head of state is thinking about us. Our problem of employment is 2,000 is already something, is enough, and it encourages us to go more and more and further our education.
The head of state has laid special emphasis on the implementation of a 3-year special youth plan involving more than 600,000 people. Thus, nearly 4,000 projects have been developed in the agricultural, industrial, digital economy, and innovation sectors, and adequate financing has also been provided. Indeed, as a result of the ongoing major projects, agricultural, road and infrastructure projects, more than 500,000 jobs were created in 2018 for the benefit of the Cameroonian youths. The government has not relented and does not intend to lie on its laurels. In 2019, the government has put in place a waterproof strategy to create no less than 500,000 jobs. All of these efforts put in by the government are not leaving those who manage the youth policy in Cameroon indifferent.
The advocacy of young people led to the President of the Republic is taken into consideration, and for me, I think it's facilitate the intergenerational link, because you know when those representatives of young people in the high administration are there, when they talk to their peers who are in different activities, they are followed. And as I told them, the young people themselves should also give them great support, because if they succeed, it means that the head of state encourages the head of state to give more confidence in young people. So those who are not yet appointed should give them a lot of support so that they succeed in their mission. And the other ones should also give advice to others who are expecting to come at that level of decision.
The government may have liked to do even more, but objective budgetary constraints sometimes tie the hands of public authorities. But there is hope, because the government is more than ever before conscious of its obligations vis-à-vis the youths.
There is hope, especially here in our country, especially with President Paul Biya. The youth of Cameroon is the main target of his policy. The youth, the situation of the youth preoccupies the head of state. All what he's doing is to let our young men have something to do. The time is for the work, the commitment on work. They should be well trained. They should not be discouraged.
The President of the Republic has said it before. He will not go to sleep until he has found solutions to the problems hampering the development of Cameroon and especially the youth.